Hi everyone, I hope you've had a great stitching week. This video is basically just an update to show you how much I've done and how far I've gotten on some of my projects. So this is my Heaven and Earth design and it's called Riverwalk Charm. This is one of my favorite ones. It's a really beautiful Mediterranean picture with some gorgeous like sunny areas cast onto the buildings, and there's a little river and it's really quite pretty. So I'm doing this on 25 count Evenweave and it's pre-gridded so you can see all the little squares. So they're to help guide you, so if you're not very good at counting like me, that's really helpful. So what I managed to get done this week is more or less page 3, because I was actually I'd done the first 2 pages and I think I left off somewhere above here where these railings are. So I've done about, say about that much, this little section and this square here. So that's quite a lot, I think, for a week, because if you look at it, you can see that it's quite confetti heavy in this area in particular. So this area where you see these blooms and leaves and blossoms, that was actually a little bit of a nightmare because there was quite a lot of confetti in there. So it took me roughly about an hour to finish a square. So that's quite a while, and it can put you off a little bit after a while. If you continue to do confetti areas, it can be a bit of a headache. And so sometimes I go and I have a little break, and I'm quite happy to go and do a different section. So I was quite glad when I was heading down this way. And I mean, you can see from these park threads here just how many colours you've got going on. For instance, this bunch of threads here are all the colours that I'm going to need, and probably a few more in that particular square. And also this bunch here are all the colours I'm going to need for that particular square. So you can see that there's a lot going on there, a lot of rethreading the needle, which I'm pretty fast at. But anyway, you know, there's going to be a lot of colours going on there, as opposed to here where you can see my park threads. We've only got 3 or 4 colours going on here at the most. So this is a straightforward, you know, going down quite easily. And so sometimes you do need a break. You definitely need a break. And talking about having a break, I did actually start another kit, and it's not a Heaven and Earth design, because I have this one and another one on the go at the moment, and I think 2 Heaven and Earth designs is enough for me at this particular point. But I wanted something that I could do that I didn't have to think too hard, and I didn't have to count and go in rows, something that allowed a little more flexibility for me. You're probably wondering why I don't just go in any direction here. Well, I've tried that a couple of times and I think I just end up getting lost. I don't know, there's no sort of step method to it. I find that it's just a bit too haphazard for me, and when I started trying this method with the rows, it suited me better. I felt like I knew where I was going, I wasn't miscounting stitches. And also think about, like, you know, when you get to look at your PDF, as I use Pattern Keeper here on my tablet, when you get to say something happened to your PDF or your tablet, you're not going to have to worry about your whole pattern with loads of stitches all over the place having disappeared. If you have to come back and start again, it's going to be much easier just to mark off, you know, just like that whole area as done, rather than thousands of stitches in any direction. But that's really beside the point. The point is, do whatever is comfortable for you at the end of the day, and this really is the most comfortable for me. But I digress, because having said that, sometimes I do need a bit of a break, like everybody, and I'm going to show you. So this is the moment where I show you something else that I started, and I've been looking at this new pattern and I've been umming and ahhing about it for a while, thinking, shall I buy it, shall I not do it, shall I start it, shall I not start it? And then of course you go over all these questions in your head. So effectively at the end of the day you just say, right, oh to hell, I'll just go and get it then. And so this is the one I chose, and as you can see, it is a very different kind of design to the Heaven and Earth design that I'm doing. So this is a sampler, and the kit is called 3 Things. It's a bothy threads, which is quite popular. A lot of people doing bothy thread designs. They do a lot of sort of animals and stuff like that. But this is a sampler, and I've never done a sampler before. So I wanted to just give this a go and see, you know, I may never do one again, but I just wanted to try it out. And what appealed to me about it, as opposed to doing this methodical row by row, is that once you start in the middle and you've got a little bit done, you can go in any direction you want, and you can complete little sections, which to me seemed a little bit more diverse and a bit of a break from the Heaven and Earth design pattern. So you want to do something a little bit different so that you don't get fed up of one or the other. So I started bang in the middle, which is about there on this pattern. Let's see if I can show the full pattern like this. I started bang in the middle, which was somewhere in here, and this is as far as I've gotten on this particular one. Just put that there. So I've already done the bottom sentence there, and I think it looks nice. I really like it. So I started here in the middle and I worked left, finished these stems, and then I worked right and I finished these ones. Then I did a whole row of these flowers, and then I counted upwards and I sort of going backwards with the verse. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to finish that verse in the middle, and then I'm going to start working. I'm not sure which direction I'll go from there. I might do this guy here or this guy over here. Really depends what I feel like at the time, or I may carry on, do those three little bushes, the alphabet. But I think the nice thing about it is that I can go in whatever direction I want to go, and it's not going to be something that I have to stick to doing rows. And I think that once I've done a couple of squares of this, I can then pick this one up and do a bit more random work. And I think it's just nice to have a change every so often. So I don't have a target date for getting this done. I don't have a target date for getting anything done. And I know for a fact that these Heaven and Earth designs, they often take a couple of years. So there's no point really counting. If it's longer than 6 months, it's just, that's it. It's a long time, and I'll leave it at that. And this one, I would assume that if I was to do a little bit of this, say 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week for a couple of hours, that may be done in about 8-9 months. So, but like I said, I don't like to put timestamps on things, because then I just feel like I'm obliged to get something done within a time frame, and then it starts to feel like work, and you know how that feels. So yeah, that's the 3 things bothy threads sampler. And you can see here that I'm using a hoop, and I don't really use hoops much any longer. So I'm really going sort of traditional here, and a little bit wild even, because I don't feel like I have to have this even in my Lowry stand. I'm just doing this one on my lap, and I'm finding that comfortable as well. So it's really like going back to a bit more traditional sewing as opposed to this one, because this setup I have here with this is like a little bit wild and crazy, but it's really sort of methodical. And this one is just more traditional, on my lap watching TV, and I don't have to count too much, and I don't have to worry about parking threads and stuff like that, because I've tried working with my Heaven and Earth design on my lap with these threads, and it's not happening. It's just an absolute nightmare, because I'm holding the frame and then I can't sort out my threads, which I need 2 hands for. I need all my fingers to pick out my threads and sort of do that kind of thing. And if I've got one hand missing and I'm only using this hand to sew with whilst I'm holding this, all these threads just become a nightmare. So I think if you're going to do a heavy parking thing like me, do attach it to something, a stand or somewhere, because it's just going to be impossible. Plus all these threads, they'll get all tangled on your lap, and then, you know, they'll end up in your bowl of soup, and goodness, it's just, yeah, so try to be as tidy as you can with it. that is just my little tip of the day. So this is where I've gotten with my weekly stitching update. So what have you been up to this week? Have you started something new? Are you still working on something that you're nearly finishing maybe? I don't know if I'm going to get finished on this year. It doesn't look likely, considering that this is a regular chart and it's going to be fairly big. I mean, there's a huge chunk of fabric just hanging from this. So this one's going to be fairly big. It's going to take a while to get this one finished. And the bothy threads, I say probably, it's a possibility I might have that one done by the end of the year. So let's see. I don't want to put any pressure on myself. I enjoy just sitting down and relaxing with it and not having to worry too much about the end result. So that's my update for today. I may do a little bit of stitching later and I'll be posting that at some point, probably over the weekend. So please do come back and stitch with me, because it's really nice to have the company, and I like to do a little bit of stitching and a little bit of chatting, even though it might be a little bit mundane chatting, but at the end of the day it's nice to have the company and somebody to chat to. So it's really great also to get your comments and your feedback on what I'm doing and what you think of my charts, and also to hear about what you're doing. I find that really interesting. And even if you're able to show me your work, that would be fantastic too. I don't know if you can add a photograph to your comments, but it would be nice to see, or maybe even a link to see what it is you're working on and how far you're progressing. So I just want to say thanks again for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Take care.